There's this moment in midlife when something in you just stops cooperating.
And not your body this time. Something deeper, that quiet voice that has been trying to get your attention for years, and suddenly it's not quiet anymore.
And we call it as a crisis. But what if it's actually the most important call you will ever receive?
Welcome back to Midlife Unfiltered. I'm Alice from Pride Midlife, and this is Jenny from Midlife Clover Community. Today, we are taking on a term that I think has done a lot of damage, the midlife crisis. It has been turned into a punchline, the sports car, the dye hair. But underneath that joke is something real and serious that millions of people are experiencing and not knowing how to name or navigate.
And here's what we want to explore today. We are going to talk about why these moments happen, why most people ignore it, how to tell if you are genuinely being called to change, and how to answer what that call without burning your life to the ground.
Yes. So let's start with the name itself. The term midlife crisis was coined in 1965, and ever since it's framed this experience as a problem, something to be fixed, managed, medicated, or even mocked. And that framing causes so much harm. Because when you are in the middle of it and you have been told this is a crisis, you might think, I'm broken, something has gone wrong, I need to get back to normal.
But what if nothing has gone wrong?
Yeah.
What I've come to believe and what I've seen in so many people I've spoken to is that this isn't a crisis. It's this a collision between the life you built and the person you have become. A McKinney studies found that 76% of people in their 40s and 50s report feeling a deep sense of misalignment between their current life and their actual values. That's not a mental health problem. That's data telling you something real is off.
True. And that data reframe changed everything for me. The life you built isn't broken, it's just working perfectly for someone you no longer are. You have outgrown it. The moment I stopped calling it a crisis in my head and started calling it a wake up call, the panic started to shift into something I could actually work with.
So, if this is a wake up call, why do so many people hit news?
Well, it's because answering the call means admitting we need to change. And admitting we need to change means admitting that some of the choices we made, the career we chose, the life we built, the version of ourselves wasn't fully right. So people double down. They work harder, earn more, buy bigger things, anything but look at the question being asked.
I've seen this pattern so many times. Someone hits their 40s or 50s and realizes their career doesn't fit anymore. But instead of pivoting, they push harder in the same direction. And 5 years later, they are still feel miserable. The Harvard study of adult development, which tracked people for over 80 years, found that people who ignore their internal signal of misalignment reported significantly lower life satisfaction in their final decades.
Yeah, and I think the deeper fear isn't failure, it's what success on the other side looks like. Because if you answer the call, you have to become someone new. And that new person doesn't get to hide behind the old identity anymore. And that is terrifying for most people. It was terrifying for me.
Okay, so let's get practical. Because not every moment of doubt is a wake up call.
Yeah.
How do you know when is the real thing?
Well, okay, so there are three signals we have come to recognize. So the first is you feel misaligned with your own values, like the life you are living doesn't match the person you have become. You are making decisions based on someone else's blueprint. It could be your parents' expectations, society's timeline, your younger self's ambitions, and that person isn't you anymore.
The second signal is that you are asking bigger questions than you used to. Not how do I get promoted, but why am I doing this at all? Not how do I make more money, but what does a good life actually looks like for me?
That is very true. And the third signal. And this is the one that distinguishes a wake up call from plain burnout. Is that you feel a pull towards something, not just a push away from what you have. Burnout makes you want to escape. A wake up call makes you want to move toward something new. There is a meaningful difference between these two feelings.
Now, here's what people get it wrong. They think answering the call means quitting everything tomorrow, walking out, burning it all down. And for some people, that's dramatic and exciting to imagine, but it is usually not what works.
Very true. And the people who successfully navigate this transition don't blow up their lives. They build something new while the old structure is still standing. It takes longer, it's less dramatic. Step one is to get curious about the call before you do anything else. Let's say spend 30 days noticing what actually energizes you, not what should energize you. Write it down.
Step 2 is to test the new direction before you commit to it fully. If you think you want to change careers, don't quit. Start a side project, take a course, talk to people who are doing what you think you want to do. Give yourself permission to explore without consequences. I know someone who felt called to leave his corporate job at 48. Instead of quitting, he spent a year building his new thing on nights and weekends. By the time he left, he had clients, revenue, and proof that the new path worked. The transition worked because he's already built the foundation.
That's very nice. And step three, get clear on your non negotiables before you redesign anything. What do you actually need? Not want, your need. A certain income level, maybe? Time with your family? Or how about location flexibility? Knowing this before you make changes means you don't have to figure it out under pressure. The moment you start moving toward what's calling you, the panic shifts. The clarity starts to come.
Here's the thing we haven't said yet, and it might be the most important part of this conversation. Isn't money, isn't even clarity, it is identity.
Very true. The people I have seen truly transform through this period are the ones who were willing to become someone new, not slightly improved, actually different. And most people can't do that because it feels like a kind of death. You have to let go of who you thought you were supposed to be.
In every case, I have witnessed where someone actually changed, really changed. There was a moment where they had to release an old identity. The high performing executive who had to become a teacher. The perfectionist who had to become someone okay with good enough. The relentless people pleaser who had to become someone with boundaries. Each one of those was an identity shift that felt like loss, and each one led to a life that felt genuine theirs.
So, the question to sit with is not, what do I need to do? It should be, who do I need to become? What qualities does this new version of me have? What do we value? How do we move through the world? And then honestly ask ourselves, am I willing to become that person?
If something in this episode hit a nerve, here's what we want you to hear. You're not broken, you're not failing, and you're not having a crisis, you're waking up. And that is something worth paying attention to.
We want to hear from you. Which of these three signals resonated most? The misalignment, the bigger questions, or the pull towards something new? Leave a comment below because these conversations might give other person permission to be honest too.
And if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The more we talk about midlife as a calling instead of a crisis, the more people can walk through it with their eyes open instead of their head down. See
See you
you
next
next
week.
week.